Part 4. She was lying half in and half out of the kitchen with her hair in her face. Ralph thought there was something particularly horrible about that. It looked sloppy. And if there was one thing Carolyn refused to be, it was sloppy. He knelt beside her and brushed the hair away from her eyes and forehead. The skin beneath his fingers felt as chilly as his feet inside his soaked sneakers. I wanted to put her on the couch, but she's too heavy for me, Bill said nervously. He had taken off his panama and was fiddling nervously with the band. My back, I know, Bill, it's okay, Ralph said. He slid his arms into Carolyn and picked her up. She didn't feel heavy to him at all, but light. Almost as light as a milkweed pod which was ready to burst open and disgorge its filaments into the wind. Thank God you were here. I almost wasn't, Bill replied, following Ralph into the living room and still fiddling with his hat. He made Ralph think of old Dorrance Marstello with his book of poems. I wouldn't touch him anymore if I were you, old Dorrance had said. I can't see your hands. I was on my way out when I heard a hell of a thud. It must have been her falling. Bill looked around the storm-darkened living room, his face somehow distraught and avid at the same time his eyes seeming to search for something that wasn't there. Then they brightened. The door! I'll bet it's still open. It'll be raining in. I'll be right back, Ralph. He hurried out. Sorry. Ralph barely noticed. The day had taken on the surreal aspects of a nightmare. The ticking was the worst. He could hear it in the walls so loud now that even the thunder could not blot it out. He put Carolyn on the couch and he knelt beside her. His respiration was fast and shallow, and her breath was terrible. Ralph did not turn away from it, however. Hang in there, sweetheart, he said. He picked up one of her hands. It was almost as clammy as her brow had been, and kissed it gently. You just hang in there. It's fine. Everything's fine. But it wasn't fine. The ticking sound meant that nothing was fine. It wasn't in the walls either. It had never been in the walls, but only in his wife Carolyn. It was in his dear one. She was slipping away from him, and what would he ever do without her? You just hang on, he said. Hang on, you hear me? He kissed her again and held it against his cheek. And when he heard the warble of the approaching ambulance, he began to cry.